this little canyon road on my way to Rower. Been a while since I made a vid about the 300L. Since the last video, I kind of bit the bullet on the big mods and got the Rally Raid rear shock. I think it's level 1 they call it. That's the one that's supposed to keep the bike at stock height. And then I also got the 550 Performance ECU. And I put them on at the same exact time. So I've actually ridden it a lot since having both those upgrades on. The height on the shock is awesome. And I've actually gone back to a stock seat. Just, I don't know, ergonomically it feels so much better. I feel more on top of the bike. That C concept seat just gave the bike such a different feel. So maybe not so much for me in the way I ride. I rode it for a long time and I didn't dislike it. Just, I don't know, I do a lot of desert riding and more aggressive riding, and I just think that that seat position just felt weird for me. So I'm back on stock, and the combination of the stock with the Rally Raid shock for me is perfect. I've only really ridden like super sandy desert stuff on the ECU and the shock, so I don't know, just felt like getting out and doing some riding on this bike. I picked up 2 months ago 2005 CRF300L, so that's been a completely different world of riding. So yeah, I've kind of been neglecting the 300, I feel like. But man, riding a race bike versus this bike is a huge difference, and I really appreciate this bike a lot more for what it is now, rather than before. I feel like I was always struggling to get it to feel like a dirt bike, and after having that 250R, it kind of puts in the perspective that this bike will never be close to that bike at all. Man, we got an insane deal on that 250R. Guy was selling it for $2,300 or $2,400, and he had it up for a while. He dropped it to $222. No, yeah, he dropped it to $2,000. So I told my brother to go check it out. He goes and checks it out, and we didn't even really try to negotiate with the guy. I just, over the phone, I told my brother to ask him to confirm the price at $2,000, and my brother said, "It's $2,000, right?" And the guy said, he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'll do $1,600." And we're like, "What?" So I threw my sandals on and ran to the bank and sent my brother money. And come on, dude. Yeah, and he picked up a 05 250R for $1,600, which I've never seen any deal like that. So had to get on that. And then a few weeks later, me and my brother were gonna split the bike and kind of just share it. And I ended up doing tons and tons of work to it. Just getting the controls good, and oil, and the changing fluids, and the water pump needed a rebuild. I did a carb rebuild. So putting money into it. And then my brother finds an 010 YZ250F, and he ends up picking that up for 1,500 bucks. Yeah, I don't know, if you're able, it's a good time to buy used bikes, I guess. At least those old 4-strokes. But I remember looking for kind of like a race bike a few years ago, and it was slim pickings. It is nice right now. Just gonna pull over and air out because 18 PSI is not cool here. Alright, there's a good trail off one of these I wanna try and hit. Can't remember what it's called though. This shock is an insane, oh dang it, that was it. This shock is an insane difference. Just control wise, probably ECU. I'm still getting some backfire with the ECU. So you can use the power of the bike to power through bumps and stuff. Like that. Whereas before, kind of just bottomed out. Everyone knows how poor the stock rear shock is, so oh, this is cool. Oh, lizard. Oh yeah, super overgrown. Crazy. I don't think I've ever been on this one. I don't remember going, oh, I don't remember going down this far. This is a good one. Oh. Whew. Yeah, I guess the best way to put it is the shock is a clear game changer. It makes the bike so much different. Makes it sit differently, changes the ergonomics. I would argue that it changes the like the delivery of power, even without the tune, just because your torque isn't getting sucked up by the absorption of that stock shock. So that in itself is probably the most noticeable thing. As for the ECU, at least in my opinion, it wasn't like this super night and day thing. My third gear feels like second gear used to feel, and my fourth gear feels like third gear used to feel. Yeah, if you could picture like the power that you get with a stock second gear and kind of the torque and feel of that, that's kind of how your third gear feels. So it's really noticeable to me in the third and fourth. You just get way better like power delivery out of those gears, and way more pull all the way through the gear. They don't have that kind of like flat spot in them. Yeah, like on the way here through that canyon, if I was just kind of coasting downhill in fourth or fifth, I noticed a huge, see, second, you can just like pop over stuff now. Yeah, but in that canyon I noticed, kind of coasting down the hill in fourth or fifth, getting huge backfires from the exhaust, and I was kind of hoping the tune would like address some of that like lean running characteristics, but I guess not in that scenario so much. But and I don't have anything done to my airbox. I think I have a twin air air filter right now. But man, I don't know if it's because I've been riding the 250R, but this bike feels so much more aggressive and fun compared to kind of just slogging around. And I definitely attribute it to the rear shock by far. So if you're at a crossroads of what to do first, or which one's going to give you the most bang for your buck, I'd say go shock. Because I can't imagine the ECU upgrade with the stock shock. I can't imagine that being a huge game changer. You're still letting that rear shock kind of rob you of some aggressiveness and performance. Like, I'm super low. I was low RPM in third right there. And I'm just able to bounce over stuff. There's no way I could do that before, but I think that's all the shock just holding up. And the front end just wants to lift now. And I would have assumed that that was because of the ECU, but I think it's that stiffness. really remember this being more of like a fire road, but this is pretty gnarly. Super fun though. That was a fun one. No, I'm not on a bicycle ride. So I'll try to go back and find pictures that I took of the level 1 shock side by side with the stock. And it's so crazy the difference in the spring. Just even the way it sits on the kickstand is better. That stock rear shock, I felt tipped way too much. The stock kickstand keeps the bike upright a little bit more, easier to put over on stuff like this and not have to worry about the bike falling. But yeah, now when I sit on the bike, it has a way more aggressive stance, not squatted out in the back. By far it changed the experience more than anything else I've done to this bike. Like bars, tires, ECU, that rear shock has by far changed the experience the most. So wish I did it a longer time ago. And if I had it, I probably wouldn't have blown my back out compressing my rear shock on that road I flew over in the desert last year. If you're doing this type of riding, even if you're shorter, I'm 5'6", 5'7", and I'm about 160 right now. So I'm not big by any means, but I haven't adjusted the shock at all. But I can't remember if I put that data in with them when I ordered the shock, but yeah, the way they sent it feels great, but again, that's without me messing with it, so I'm not really sure how good it can feel or how much I can mess it up. Well, that was cool. I just hung out and talked to these dudes for like half an hour. They come up from the other side. There's a reservoir over there, and that's kind of what I pulled over to ask them, is how to get down there. And I guess there's a spot down there they park and ride up the kind of the backside of the OHV. Might be a lot busier now, so I gotta kind of watch my corners. But I definitely got my workout in on the way up, so I'm just cruising down.